It's almost time.
Now we'll find out once and for all about Clark Kent and Superman.
Look up in the sky. It's a bird. It's a plane. It's a TV show.
Yes, but who is he? What's his name?
He's Superman.
Golly, Clark, won't that be wonderful seeing Superman?
Fighting a never-ending battle for truth, justice, and television the MeTV way.
No one can do the things that Superman does.
The adventures of Superman.
Now on MeTV Fresno, Xfinity 187.
Hi, I'm John Mallos. Welcome to this live edition at Connect With Me on the showroom floor at Ventura TV on this day. Glad to have you along. It's a Monday morning. It's on the air off the presses. We'll have a special guest, a first-time appearance for our guest today, 436 MeTV, option 11. Little hint here, we're talking high school sports in the Central Valley. Back in just a moment. Back here on a Monday morning here on Connect With Me on the showroom floor at Ventura TV. You're watching us on Comcast, channel 187 and 43.6. As usual, my friends, Monday through Friday. Hey, and by the way, you are watching us also on 13.1. That's live Monday through Friday between 10 and 11 o'clock. And then the replay comes at 2 o'clock on YouTube and 8 o'clock at night on Biz TV, as you can see there in the Twitter account at John Mallos, MeTV. Hey, just a quick reminder, our sponsor today is Dr. Thomas Casagrande. He is from 2020 Optometrics out there at Shaw and Blackstone. He's been our sponsor here for a while. And yes, I will say this one more time, and I'll say this just for Dennis Hart's sake, okay? If you're watching Dennis, I'm going to go out there, get my eyes checked, and get a pair of frames, my friend, just for you. Anyway, coming up later this week, hey, a good show tomorrow with Gabriel Dillard from the Business Journal will be here. And then on Wednesday, Kayla Wilson will be here from the Fresno County Office of Education. What's she going to be talking about? Teen pregnancy. It's a huge, huge problem right here in the Central Valley, although the numbers are constantly going down. Okay, today, a special guest here, our first-time guest. He is the host of CVSR. What does that stand for? Central Valley Sports Report. What, you never heard of that, you say? It's been on the air for 4 years. Our guest today has been the host for the better part of 3 of those years. Where can you see it? Well, it was on CMAC. Now, Central Valley Sports Reports focuses on high school sports right here in the Central Valley. You're talking football, baseball, track, women's sports to boot, everything across the board, including volleyball. The host is Jason Phillips. Here's a clip and a little preview of what you might see. We'll talk about what's coming up for later this year for Central Valley Sports Report, but for now, check this out.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the CVSR show. I am your host, Jason Phillips. How's it going, my man? How you doing today? Thanks for being with us. Go ahead and have a seat. All right, Coop, second year coaching girls varsity volleyball or basketball at Buchanan. How's it going, man?
It's going well, going well. Really enjoy my team, enjoy everything about it. Get to coach at my school that I went to.
That's right, you played.
I played at Buchanan, yeah. One of my assistant coaches actually coached me at Buchanan for a while, Lee Mayberry. So I'm having a great time.
Live in our studio right now is Jason Phillips. He is the host of the Central Valley Sports Report. And coming up, this Central Valley Sports Report may be seen on PBS. They're in negotiations right now. We'll talk about that during the course of the program. And we'll also talk about high school sports coming up, especially high school football coming around the corner here. I know summer is approaching, but you know what? The school year for the following year is fast approaching. It starts in August, and that means football is around the corner. Jason Phillips is our guest. We'll be back. 436 MeTV, option 11. At 2020 Optometric, your vision is their focus. Whether you're 5 or 65, Dr. Thomas Casagrande will get to know you, your lifestyle, and vision needs to ensure that your contacts or eyeglasses are a perfect fit and the right prescription every time. With the Valley's largest selection of eyewear, 2020 has over 2,000 frames, including top designer brands like Coach, Tiffany, Prada, Ray-Ban, Oakley, and more. Eye exams start as low as $89, so call or stop by to schedule your appointment today.
We need help to find this missing child. Hallie Cummings was 7 when she went missing. She was last seen in Satsuma, Florida in February of 2009. This is what we believe she looks like today at age 11. If you have any information, please call the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children at 1-800-THE-LOST. That's 1-800-843-5678. Please help bring Hallie Cummings home.
436 MeTV option 11. Of course, the football season fast approaching. You know, in the NFL, of course, camp will start here in a couple of months, and then that's for all NFL teams, including the New England Cheaters, right? Jason Phillips, how are you?
Good to be here, John. Good to be here. Glad to be the interviewee for once.
Oh, yeah. So, Central Valley Sports Report. Tell us about how this whole thing came about. I know you've been the host for, what, 3 years? Mm-hmm. Tell us a little bit about the program and what you guys feature.
So the program features, athletes, student athletes around town, trying to get to college. That's what we do. We try to help them get to college. There was a gentleman by the name of Vince Bailey who came from New York, put his kids through the Clovis Unified out there in Clovis East. He had a couple kids play basketball, and he realized that it was really tough for student athletes in this area to get to college. Not a lot of coaches help the young men or women. And so he found it that there was nothing really helping these kids. So he created Central Valley Sports Report. Very small portion of us working. I jumped on board about a year after he started. Mm-hmm. And our mission is to help these kids through providing information, getting their name out there, exposure, being in contact with college coaches so they can recruit kids and look at them in this area. Kids can go online, create a profile. Putting their stats, their vitals, highlights of them playing so coaches can know about them. And then we started a show, and this show is, interviewing coaches, interviewing kids, so Valley can see who they are.
Is it a weekly roundup on the games as well?
We do that, so it's a weekly show, and not on air right now, but we're trying to work on that. But when we were running, it was a weekly show, and we would recap big games, Valley championships, big things that happened, coaching changes, what kids are breaking out. So we would pretty much try to highlight all the things that we could here in the Valley.
Right. Hey, I know there's a lot of controversy right now, and I want to entice people to call in and ask about this because we're talking about high school sports. I still have a daughter that goes to elementary school, and I know they play football. They play tackle football in elementary schools. So I want to ask you, is there a concern in any of the high schools with either the players, the coaches, or the parents in regards to concussions? I think elementary school might be a little too young to be playing head-on tackle football with the full gear from head to toe. High school is a little different, but any concern?
Absolutely, ton of concern. And, a young child's body doesn't come to full development until somewhere late in junior high, even beginning of high school.
Yeah.
If I was a parent, I wouldn't put my kid in tackle football until high school. I mean, you're talking major knee injuries. Those are also severe, as are concussions. I mean, when you're talking about the brain, you don't want to mess with that until you're at least near adulthood. And so there's a ton of worry about that, having children in tackle football. But I tell parents, do as much research as you can. There's a lot more research being done in the last 5 to 7, 8 years about concussions now, so that's getting better. But still, when you're talking that young age, I wouldn't do it.
Kind of fitting because last week, Eric Rosales from KMPH Fox 26, our friend over there, Eric, I've known him for a long time, he did a special report, I believe it was on Thursday night, and pretty much portrayed to the audience what types of helmets in terms of safety all the high schools are using across the board here in the Central Valley. Mm-hmm. Very interesting. I don't know if you had a chance to see that. You could probably go online and watch it. So are they using, from your knowledge, are they using the proper equipment, do you think, at this point, to protect you know, their brain.
You know, I hope so, that in the Valley we can afford the proper helmets. But you're right, now that the Schultz helmet came out, you know, the Revo helmets, there are different helmets that help impact the safety of the impact to the head. And so there are helmets that can better do that, but it's also proper tackling technique. You know, ever since the invention of the face mask, that's what's caused kids to use improper technique of tackling. And so there was an interesting thing that came up a couple years ago about how if we took away the face mask, we'd have less concussions. People wouldn't run and lead with their head. You know, you tackle, you know, the chest of a player, and that's how you do that. But I think so for the most part, if we can use the proper equipment, we'd be much better off.
And the technique.
Yep.
You're right, the tackling technique. Caller, are you there? Go ahead.
Hello?
Yeah, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Okay. I would like to talk about that because I played defensive back for Clovis High School in 1980, and we won the championship game. But during that game, I made a tackle, and I don't really remember the fourth quarter. And then when my mom picked me up, she looked in my eyes and she goes, "What's wrong with you?" And I thought that maybe it was a different thing for me, but my helmet was actually cracked. And I think that sometimes the schools get subpar helmets or something. I'm not really sure about that, but I'd like to discuss that.
Okay. Go ahead, Jason. I don't know if you can shed some light
You know
on
what
that.
I could add on that is back in 1980s, you know, helmets, schools would, you know, not have, you know, enough helmets to go around. You know, if you cracked a helmet, well, maybe you might have to use it. Maybe we don't have a backup helmet. Now, I know that's not the case so much. Clovis Unified has gotten better about that, about, you know, being able to afford more equipment and proper equipment. And now with concussion protocols and safety, parents are on that night and day from before. So if a coach notices a cracked helmet or something like that, you know, it will be resolved. But that's tough, man. There's so many stories like the caller just said, and that's unfortunate.
Because and I know that because even back in my high school days, and we do have another call coming in. Let's take that one. I mean, it was ancient times when I went to high school, but that was the case. If you you know, pretty much damaged any of your equipment, you had to use it anyway. And that includes the helmet. So, caller, are you there? Go ahead.
Let me ask a quick question to Jason. Back in the heydays, you know, in junior high, we used to play flags, and before going into spring training in high school, let's say if we were an 8th grader, it would be hard to play flags and then go into tackle football. So I nowadays you have used football playing. I mean, at the age of 6, 7, and 8, and then and beyond that, full uniform as far as tackle. In Sanger, we do. I mean, we have. I bet you go to any little elementary school or before they get into let's say junior high, whatever, they have full uniforms, helmets, and this and that. They're going to have to get into tackle football. I think it's too young at that age. But let's say maybe, you know, 8th graders or 7th graders, they should have full uniforms because they're going to get into the high school. If they're real competitive, they're going to go. But back in the 80s, it was nothing but flag ball. But the going from flag ball, flag football into high school in a full uniform atmosphere, they used to laugh at us.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you know, they do have. I can guarantee it because I watch some of the elementary school games where my daughter goes to school, and their uniforms are from head to toe. They got the helmets, they got the pads, they got the knee pads, the thigh pads, everything, even the cleats.
Yeah, youth sports is a interesting thing, isn't it? The way parents are so, you know, on their kids about being great, and it's you know, start them younger, they're going to be better when they get to high school and such. So that's where we've progressed, and you know, flag is good. And the caller has a point. You know, should you start a little bit earlier before you get to high school as far as tackle goes? You know, there's got to be a line drawn somewhere. You know, youth football can be okay. It does teach us, you know, good lessons for kids and whatnot. But you know, being that young, you know, it's tough, and you just hope that there's not that many injuries and they're not severe.
Yeah, we're talking with Jason Phillips. He is the host of Central Valley Sports Report. We'll talk more about that in just a moment here, but you are entitled to call in, and we encourage you, 436-MeTV option 11 on this Monday. It's on the air off the presses. Our thanks once again, in part, to Dr. Thomas Casagrande of 2020 Optometrics. At 2020 Optometric, your vision is their focus. Whether you're 5 or 65, Dr. Thomas Casagrande will get to know you, your lifestyle, and vision needs to ensure that your contacts or eyeglasses are a perfect fit and the right prescription every time. With the Valley's largest selection of eyewear, 2020 has over 2,000 frames, including top designer brands like Coach, Tiffany, Prada, Ray-Ban, Oakley, and more. Eye exams start as low as $89, so call or stop by to schedule your appointment today.
Want to create something extraordinary? Create perfection. Our lifestyle appliances make it easy. KitchenAid, Ventura TV appliance, and you, when only the best will do.
Welcome to a special edition of the CVSR TV show. I am your host, Jason Phillips. We are full-blown and almost at the end of spring sports, but it's never a bad time to talk football. And I am joined by a special guest today, Mr. Devon Hilliard of Team Swag, Students with Aspiring Goals. Devon, I love what you're doing. You take student athletes and you help them in the classroom and you help them to be better people. You've got a football background and you've also got a mentor background. Tell us a little bit about Swag and why you do it.
So with Swag, the reason why we're doing Swag is to get kids out of Merced County to the collegiate level to participate in the sport. So it's 3 concepts with Swag: academics, mentoring, and national exposure. So the academic component, every kid has a academic plan set forth throughout high school to get them on the Division I football level currently right now. And then with the mentoring, we just keep mentoring, surround our kids with good people, and then our national exposure, we get out there and showcase our kids' talents to the world, to the nation, to the state, to different colleges.
Now that's great. Now you take kids during the off season for football. Right now you're just doing football, but you plan to do basketball coming up soon. You take kids 7-on-7 tournaments, kind of helping football players in the off season. What are you more academic based with a sports emphasis, or are you football based with kind of helping academics?
All right, Jason Phillips, the host of Central Valley Sports Report. We'll talk more about that with Jason in a moment. We have a call. Go ahead, caller. You're on the air.
Yes, 2 comments. One, do you think specific counselor guidance or guidance counselor assigned to athletes would be a good idea rather than just assigning them to a general counselor at the School for Career Counseling? Have specific counselors for athletes. And the second thing, this may sound counterintuitive, but if you look at rugby players, you don't see the amount of injuries. Do you think it's just maybe too much equipment they wear and they don't hit right because of that? Thank you very much.
I'm sorry, the first question was, what about guidance counselors?
If they should have a guidance counselor full-time, football players, baseball players, I guess athletes in general.
You know what? Coaches pretty much are their guidance counselors. Coaches and assistant coaches will usually maintain, the academics on all their players, where you're at, what you're doing. Counselors are very well involved with the athletes as well. I don't know if a school can allocate resources to do that. It'd be a great idea, but if a coach and their staff are doing their jobs correctly, they'll make sure the kids are doing good. And for the second part of the question, rugby, you're absolutely correct, caller. There's very less injuries with rugby, and that's because the face mask, the helmet, when you've got protection over your face, you're going to use different techniques as far as tackling a player, and you're going to have more injuries with more equipment.
I wonder if that's the same thing like, you know, road rage. If you're in a car, you're more likely to confront somebody with a car, as opposed to if you were standing outside that car, would you confront that person? You have no protection. Kind of the same analogy, right?
Right. I'm going to make sure I'm not going so fast when I'm running that I'm going to rear into Volvo, you know. And,
right.
And if you don't have a helmet or a face mask on your head, you're not going to dive face first into somebody's knee and tearing their ACL. So
exactly. But you have to wonder, though, because rugby players do suffer a lot of injuries, but they're different in nature. They're not so much to the head. They're at the rest of the body that's at risk because of the scrum, the close contact, the connection, and obviously just they're not bumping heads, but bumping bodies all the time, and it's a rough sport.
Absolutely, and it's a sport, so you're going to have injuries.
Yeah.
But it's not the career-threatening injuries that you're going to find, not the torn ACLs. You might get a separated shoulder, broken collarbone, things of that nature, hurt rib,
a pulled hamstring that hurts forever.
Yeah, but I mean, it's something you can heal from and come back. And so that's and I'm glad to see rugby coming up in the Central Valley. We got girls playing rugby. Bullard has a rugby team. Rugby's growing in the Central Valley, so that's good to see.
Yeah. Now let me ask you. Okay, here's an email question. After Clovis' recent tennis victories, who is the standout? I don't know if we can answer that, but that's an email question. I have no idea. I don't follow high school tennis, so.
Clovis North has a kid that just won the individuals. I haven't followed Clovis High too much, so I can't tell you that exactly. I've been busy with other things, but Buchanan's always had a top-notch tennis program. Clovis North with their individual this year, that's good for them.
Clovis in general, top-notch tennis. Right, programs.
Yeah, Clovis Unified in general, because Clovis Unified's so good about starting them young, having camps, having things able for kids to put them in, whereas Fresno Unified's usually following a little bit slower behind in that aspect.
Yeah. Hey, let's continue along the line of football. I do want to talk about your show, I promise, but I'm always curious about this. Okay, you've got these veteran coaches in football here in the Central Valley. You got Chuck Shadan out at Sanger, right? Mm-hmm. Then you've got Matt Johnson out at Edison. You have Donnie Arax at Bullard. You have, I forget his name, at Tulare Union, who's been there a while.
Yeah.
You have these four outstanding football coaches. Are they head and shoulders above everybody?
You've got, just like in the NFL and in college, you've got your icons, I guess you could say.
Are they the icons?
Yeah,
of the Valley?
absolutely. I mean, Donnie Arax out in Bullard has been there for a while.
He's a maniac, isn't he? On the sidelines.
Yeah.
Well, Shadan is too.
He's a fire guy. And Shadan's such a good coach. I picked him earlier this year, before the football season started, as my coach of the year, just because I really liked his team, and he's a darn good coach. It's tough because he's got Bullard. And
yes, but watching these guys on the sidelines, you have to worry about cardiac arrest, don't you?
That's football. You've got to be fire. You've got to lead your troops. I mean, show me a football coach that's not fiery, that's a winning, successful, tenured coach.
I can't think of one.
Not at the top of your head.
No, but they're kind of the yardstick and the standard, huh, in this area. Those four that I mentioned.
Yeah, absolutely.
What makes them so good, in your opinion?
The ability to get kids to buy in. At this age, kids are all about stats. They're all about me. They're all about trying to get their own agenda accomplished. But these coaches, they get a kid, they ask them to play a role, and they get them to play that role, and then
How do they do that? I wonder.
Hopefully that's nothing physical, but they're just good at it. They're leaders of men, and they know how to talk to these young men.
Yeah, it's amazing. Got to take a break here. We're talking with Jason Phillips. He is the host of Central Valley Sports Report. We'll tell you where you might be able to see it this coming fall when football starts. And Jason is the host. He has been for the past 3 years. You're welcome to call in 436-ME-TV option 11. And our sponsor today, Dr. Thomas Casagrande of 2020 Optometrics. At 2020 Optometric, your vision is their focus. Whether you're 5 or 65, Dr. Thomas Casagrande will get to know you, your lifestyle, and vision needs to ensure that your contacts or eyeglasses are a perfect fit and the right prescription every time. With the Valley's largest selection of eyewear, 2020 has over 2,000 frames, including top designer brands like Coach, Tiffany, Prada, Ray-Ban, Oakley, and more. Eye exams start as low as $89, so call or stop by to schedule your appointment today.
Tune in to Heartland for the best in true country music. Relive vintage specials, one-of-a-kind concerts, and country music's earliest videos. Heartland is the heart of country, the only place where you can find country music, country stars, and country lifestyles 24/7. Heartland, the heart of country.
Now on channel 13.2.
I'm Jason Phillips with CVSR, here with your CVSR Sports Minute. I'm here with Clovis East Timberwolves middle hitter Taliana Grajeda Jr. Now, tell us a little bit about your season. You guys are now 14-2, much different than last year. What's the biggest difference between last year to this year?
I think this team works very hard. I think we're more persistent this year, so I think we're getting far.
Now, Coach said she tried to schedule you guys a lot of tournaments early in the year to try to get ready for track play. Maybe the competition wasn't what she hoped. How did you do in the tournaments? How did the team do? And did you think it's gotten you ready for track play?
Yeah, I think the tournaments are really helping us because we're seeing competition that we didn't see last year. So I think we're doing well.
Now, you're a junior. You got another year to go, but you want to play college at the next level. What are certain aspects of your game that you think you need to work on?
Definitely my defense. I mean, middle, I don't really get to play defense that much, but definitely something to focus on.
All right, Jason Phillips and his Central Valley Sports Report, a good one too, and we'll tell you where you can see it maybe this coming fall. That would be where, maybe?
We're hoping PBS. We were airing it on CMAC, and we're in talks right now, hoping to get PBS on board. So I can't talk too much about it, but hopefully that's where we go and end up somewhere where we can get this show going.
Would it be on a weekend?
Yeah, so it's tough, weekday nights competing with, big primetime, shows like The Voice and American Idol and all those that run midweek. So weekend, maybe like a Sunday night when all the athletes and their parents are at home getting ready to go to school the next day and they can watch it. So that'd be the plan.
Caller, are you there? Go ahead.
Jason, real quick. My feeling is as a coach, I've always stressed to the kids and the parents is that they go beyond the 2.0, and I think nowadays it's still a 2.0. It's important to get these kids not only to play well, but to be educated well, and I think sometimes the teachers kind of lack that. But don't you think that they should be put into a situation where a 3.0 should be carrying them through school? And where they can learn, and the best players are not going to have a hard time getting a 3.0. But I think a lot of schools say a 2.0 is fine. But that just, to me, it's like being lazy, because when you go out to play a sport, your academics are very important. So if you put something on the table, say, in order to play a sport, you have to get a 3.0. And it's imperative to tell these kids, if you don't get that, you're not going to be able to play. But in elementary, they go, or even to junior high and high school, it's a 2.0.
Okay.
So these kids, most of them are not going to make it to college anyway, because they don't have an incentive as far as getting the grade.
All right. What do you think about
you're absolutely right, Caller. It's low standards. It's low standards we've set for athletes to get through school, a 2.0. School, really what it is commitment. It's not, I want to say it's easy to get 4.0, but if you set forth the time and effort and put a commitment, you can 3.0 is very attainable.
If you raise it, you know there are going to be those distractors, and they're going to say, those opponents, and they're going to say, listen, you can't raise this. Somebody is going to call this a racist move to a certain extent, or they're going to label it something else.
Right. And what it is it's talent based. And that's if you've throughout history, if you've had the talent, schools would let you slide. You could, teachers would, hey, give my football player an A on this. We need him Friday night.
That's
still going on, right? And if you've got the talent, and that kind of brings down maybe the team's cumulative GPA, or right? If we raise the standard and put these kids on the right plan to get better grades, that's where we need to go. And CVSR, we try to help. We have free SAT prep. We put the emphasis on academics where it needs to be, and the caller's correct. Set higher standards.
So what does your show focus on mainly?
The show focuses on exposure for the athletes, letting the Valley know who they are.
That's number one.
That's number one. And then also, what we can do to showcase, the athletes and how to help, parents, how to help everybody help get these kids to college.
Yeah, and so when you talk about using Central Valley Sports Report as a recruitment tool, as you mentioned earlier in this broadcast, does that mean that they have a reel someplace up on the internet that they can send to a coach at, say, USC or said college or wherever they want to go?
So we have a newsletter that we send out to over 150 college coaches, and that's always growing as we add on more coaches. And in our newsletter, we have a kind of like a press release, if you want, of the show, so that the coaches are always getting info on who's the best athletes, up to date on what's going on. And that's another thing that the show does is, weekly, what's going on, who's playing the best, who's doing well, athletes you need to know about. And so coaches are always getting this information.
Who puts all that together?
My boss, Vince Bailey, the guy that created it, he's like a lab rat in the office on the computer all day long.
Vince Bailey is doing that, huh?
Yeah, he's making sure, and then we know that what help we can get via interns or whatever help we can find that will help him and aid him. And sometimes I get on there and I help too, but mostly him he's doing all the field work.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. All right, we're talking with Jason Phillips, Central Valley Sports Report host, 436 MeTV Option 11. Dr. Thomas Casagrande is our sponsor today here on the program. You're welcome to call in. Got an open line, another 27 minutes or so to go on the broadcast today. Back in a moment. At 2020 Optometric, your vision is their focus. Whether you're 5 or 65, Dr. Thomas Casagrande will get to know you, your lifestyle, and vision needs to ensure that your contacts or eyeglasses are a perfect fit and the right prescription every time. With the Valley's largest selection of eyewear, 2020 has over 2,000 frames, including top designer brands like Coach, Tiffany, Prada, Ray-Ban, Oakley, and more. Eye exams start as low as $89, so call or stop by to schedule your appointment today.
Hello, I'm John Walsh. We need your help to capture this fugitive. James Bell is an alleged child predator. Bell's wanted for molesting 3 girls ages 9 through 13 while working at a local YMCA in 2003. He was arrested, then fled. Bell has worked as a gymnastics instructor, coach, and a computer repairman. Bell could be anywhere along the West Coast. If you know where he is, call 617-742-5533.
Program. It's on the air off the presses with Jason Phillips, the host of Central Valley Sports Report. Do you cover, like during basketball season, during football season, do you cover every single game and show them in a capsulized form, highlights of every game?
God, I wish we did. That would make us the ESPN of the Central Valley.
You
no,
don't do that.
We don't have the manpower to get out to every game and get highlights of every game. So what we try to do is, certain games I can get out to, cover, do a story about it. But yeah, I wish.
What kind of equipment do you guys use, and where do you get it from?
So CMAC downtown, they have a program where if you take a class, and you must take the class, you can rent out their equipment, and you can use it for, I think, up to 2 days is the most. But they have cameras, speakers, lights, everything that you would need, and you can use that. We have one camera that we actually own. We have an entrepreneur videographer that has a few things that he allows us to use. So we kind of use just a bunch of things that we like to call ourselves the low rent productions.
Yeah. Now I see on the weekends, especially during football, and it's pretty much only during football. We have Friday Night Football highlights on Channel 30. You have them on 24 and 47. What's different about your show than those shows that I'm seeing each and every week?
Well, see, what they do is they have a few or so people that will go out to, maybe one person that'll go out to hopefully maybe 3 games a night on Friday.
Okay.
And they'll capture highlights and they'll bring it back to, their station and they'll run the highlights.
That's not
that
what
night.
you do.
That's not what we do. We're out at maybe a specific game, but we'll talk to the coach, we'll talk to a few of the players, we'll make a package and then we'll air it on the show, on that week. Maybe we'll air it for what we call a CVSR Sports Minute, where it's kind of like, I don't know if you've ever seen a Yahoo Sports Minute, but it's just a little 30-second minute, maybe up to 2 minutes kind of ordeal. If we were out last year at the Fresno Baseball Classic, when they were out at Buchanan, or Clovis West, excuse me. And so, we're out there and we're doing a little CVSR Sports Minute of that, or a wrap-up of that entire tournament. Maybe the HIT, which is every year at Hoover, it's a basketball tournament. So we'll go there and we'll be there all 3 days getting interviews, so you kind of know what's going on. And since we're a weekly show, we try to be, if we're at an event, we'll be there for the whole event and get you everything you need to know at the end of that event.
I see. Okay, I want to roll a piece of videotape. It's of Edison High School football. We're going to talk over that a little bit. Matt Johnson, the head coach out there. And, of course, he took over for the one and only, the former San Francisco 49er defensive back. He's now with the Jets, is he not?
Yeah.
He's still with the Jets?
Yeah.
Okay. So Matt Johnson took over, and what? Did they win back-to-back Valley championships?
No, they won this last season.
This last season they won. Why did they win, and how did they do it?
With basically 11 scholarship D1 players.
Wow.
That team was loaded. And what's unfortunate for Matt was, we go back 2 years ago when I believe they lost to Central, if I'm right. There was so much pressure on that team to win, and there was a lot of disappointment, a lot of anger from the fans and alumni. And coming into this last season when they won it, he still had that huge amount of pressure. I was at that Sanger game where Chuck Shanann and Sanger beat him and caused him to lose the undefeated season. But honestly, I think that was the best thing for them, because
that was the year before.
No, that was this last season.
Yeah,
when they lost to Sanger. But then the team rallied around that. They played their butts off. Matt Johnson got them, to play well, and they ended up beating Liberty Bakersfield in the championship.
Yeah, I'll bet after that win, I'll bet Shaddan was living the good life for about 2 or 3 or 4 days.
Yeah, that was a pretty good win right there.
Yeah, because
great second half.
That's one of his big-time rivals, along with Bullard. Bullard is a rival of theirs as well.
Yeah.
Am I right about that?
Yeah, they're same league, CMAC.
Yeah, same league, CMAC. And so Matt Johnson had 11 players that are moving on to Division I college football. Is that what you're telling me?
Oh yeah, that team was stacked. And Eastern,
wow.
Here's a great thing about the Valley. Eastern Washington is a college that's been all over recruiting football players around here in the Valley. A couple players went to North Dakota State on scholarship. I mean, there was a ton of players on that team. Tyler Horton went to Boise State. He was a defensive back. A.J. Greeley went to Fresno State. Kai Williams, the running back. That team was just loaded, man, and they're just a ton of talent.
High school players in general, let's focus on Edison a little bit, just because they have so many Division I players. So you've talked to the players out there. You've talked to Matt Johnson. Matt Johnson's been a guest here a few times, as a matter of fact. And he's never at a loss for words, by the way.
No, he's not.
He could fill this entire hour, no problem.
Yes, he could.
With one question.
Yes, he could.
So what's driving these young athletes today, would you say? The players themselves, not the coaches, but the play. Do the players see this as using football as a vehicle to get rich?
Absolutely.
Really?
Football and basketball players more so than any other sport, I believe, just because
they want that big contract.
Oh yeah, I mean it's on TV everywhere you look. I mean the NFL has a 24-hour network Basketball has that as well, baseball now too. So you're constantly seeing these athletes broadcasted and exposed on TV, and the athletes are, I want that. I want to be that guy. I want to get rich. I want to, and that's pretty much what. And the will to be great is also what drives athletes. I mean, that's why you compete. That's why you play the game. That will to be the best and compete. And that should be also is what's driving.
Are they emulating professional athletes or college athletes?
Too much.
In what way?
Well, I would like to see, and Bo Jackson is on the record of saying this. He doesn't watch football at all because he doesn't like the way players celebrate after a measly tackle. What's with that? Stop celebrating like you just won, the NFC Championship after you just sacked a quarterback one time. So I'd like to see that less in the game. Less about me, less celebratory things, and just go back to playing the game for the love of it.
Yeah. Well, no one celebrated more than Terrell Owens. Remember him?
And that did not help either. And that's
Remember he pulled out a Sharpie and signed the football after he scored a touchdown against Dallas?
Absolutely.
And then he placed that football in the midfield.
Yeah, popcorn going to the star, getting blasted.
So is that good? Is that a good display for the kid to show the kids at home they're watching on television?
The kids see that and they want to emulate it. This generation, my generation, it all started with Deion Sanders, and then Terrell Owens came along.
Yeah.
And in
my time, who it was who would start. You may or may not have heard of this, but Hollywood Henderson would do similar things.
I've heard of Hollywood Henderson.
Hollywood Henderson. I saw him play in person many times, and I saw him on television. Obviously, he was a hot dog before they invented hot dogs.
Yeah, and that's a good word for it. That's the term I've used for it. Yeah. And I'd like to see that go away a little bit. I mean, I like the kids. I like that they show enthusiasm. Maybe that drives them to make a good play.
Yeah.
But there's a time and place for it after the game. Being a gracious and good winner.
Yeah. Well, anyway, everybody wants their 15 seconds of fame. 436-ME-TV option 11. You can have your minute and a half of fame here if you call in to our program. We got an open line. We got about 15 minutes left with Jason Phillips, our guest here today on Connect with Me. And Dr. Thomas Casagrande is our sponsor. He's from 2020 Optometrics. Optometric, your vision is their focus. Whether you're 5 or 65, Dr. Thomas Casagrande will get to know you, your lifestyle, and vision needs to ensure that your contacts or eyeglasses are a perfect fit and the right prescription every time. With the Valley's largest selection of eyewear, 2020 has over 2,000 frames, including top designer brands like Coach, Tiffany, Prada, Ray-Ban, Oakley, and more. Eye exams start as low as $89, so call or stop by to schedule your appointment today.
Frigidaire. It means the first refrigerator. It means a history of innovations that help make your home life better. And now we introduce the new Frigidaire French door refrigerator with over 100 ways to organize for maximum flexibility. Built with adjustable flip-up and slide under shelving and stackable crisper drawers. It's the refrigerator that flexes to fit it all, no matter what your day will bring. Frigidaire, over 90 years of legendary innovation.
See the full line of Frigidaire appliances at Ventura TV Electronics and Appliances.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the CVSR show. I am your host, Jason Phillips. Today we are talking soccer. We have the boys and a couple coaches on from the Clovis North boys varsity team. They're tearing up the track. And we also got another special guest that's coming up right now, and I want to introduce you to him. His name is C.J. Cooper. C.J., come on down, my man. How's it going, Coop?
Good, thanks for
Keep a
having me
Coop
on.
on Twitter, right?
Yes,
Keep a
absolutely.
Coop. Have a seat, my man.
Thank you.
Thank you for being with us. CJ is also going to be a contributor now to the CVSR team as our soccer blogger. He's already got one out, an article called Guest Play, and we'll talk about that in a second. But a little bit of background about CJ. CJ, you've been a coach, different universities throughout your career, University of Hawaii, Hilo, Gonzaga, and Montana. But what are you doing now?
Okay, so Jason, who was that?
CJ Cooper. Yeah,
okay, is he a former soccer coach?
Yeah, he's a former soccer coach here in the Valley. Now he's a contributor with us, and that was such a great interview. If you can go on YouTube and find it, because he was talking about youth soccer and club soccer versus high school soccer, and there's a huge difference between club sports and high school sports.
What's the difference?
Well, high school sports, you play for your high school, you bleed for your colors.
Right.
Club sports and club soccer, you could sign up for a club team, and it's kids from different high schools, and you travel and you try to get exposure. You go to these big events down in LA that are sponsored by whoever company, but you go there and you could get seen by a ton of high profile teams, whether division college or semi-pro or whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And how you could start young in club soccer versus where high school, it's just your 4 years. So there's vast differences, and I encourage people to check it out. CJ Cooper also wrote a blog that's on our website, cbsrgo.com. Find it. Tremendous read.
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about soccer versus baseball, football, basketball. Where does it stack up in terms of high school sports? Not very high, huh?
It does stack up there pretty highly. It doesn't get the exposure that football and America's pastime baseball gets, and basketball, but soccer, it's one of those sports, the country, you got to be rooted kind of in the community to appreciate soccer, but it's a big time sport. Wrestling's another one where, the numbers game is crazy of how many people participate in wrestling, and soccer too, all over the country.
Yeah. Soccer is not America's pastime, though, yet it's popular with kids. Okay, some kids.
Right.
But it doesn't rank up there with football or basketball quite yet.
It ranks behind it. And you're right, it's one of those games where when you're a young kid, you could play it. Soccer was the first game I ever played. That got me into sports. I remember playing in elementary school. And soccer is just one of those games where anybody can pick up a ball and play it. Not necessarily you have to be good, but you can play it. Baseball, football, and basketball, it's kind of those sports where it's a little bit politically driven, and you've got to be good to jump in with people to play it.
I got to be politically correct to a certain extent here on the program, but soccer's not my favorite game. I didn't grow up. I grew up playing baseball.
Yeah, well, yeah, you're in America.
So,
that makes sense.
I don't know. Caller, what do you think? You're on the air. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to ask your guest a question. Do they teach these athletes how to talk? Because when the sportscasters are interviewing these athletes, they carry 10 conversations and they don't complete their sentence. And do they educate these kids in English or how to carry a conversation?
Good question.
What was that?
So when the kids are being interviewed, do they teach them how to carry on a conversation when they're interviewed, so they sound coherent to a certain extent?
Kids are very nervous when they're in front of the camera, and a lot of them aren't used to it.
Have you seen those highlights that they do on all the other local stations? I mean, when they have the entire team, they're screaming to get on camera. They're yelling behind these reporters and screaming, so it doesn't seem like they're too timid.
Well, okay, that's when they're behind the reporter and with their buddies. But I've done plenty of interviews with athletes, and there are some that you kind of got to nudge them and get them to talk. They're nervous. They're not used to it, and so no, I don't think they're not really educated for interviews per se.
And they're not taught by anybody.
No, they're not taught by anybody. Some are more charismatic than others. Some like the spotlight. And then there's some that kind of are pretty shy and one or two word answers. And those are interesting interviews. Let me tell you, I'm sure you've been through a few of those.
Yeah, I know. Well, you need Matt Johnson in here to teach some of these kids how to speak, because that guy will go on forever.
He'd be a good guy to teach, man.
Anyway, talking to Jason Phillips, he is the host of Central Valley Sports Report. Perhaps you might be able to see that on PBS this coming fall on a Sunday night, 436 MeTV option 11. Hey, let's see how you do when you call in at our station today, our program today here on Connect with Me. And our sponsor today, Dr. Thomas Casagrande of 2020 Optometrics. Back in a moment.
From a top-secret location, it's the Spies Who Love Me, bringing together MeTV's top super spies to fight evil at a memorable moment's notice. They're daring.
That's right.
Brave.
Now what are we gonna do?
The best we can.
Suave.
Does that apply to me, Oscar?
Possibly.
And smart.
The old finger in the gun trick.
Maxwell Smart.
MeTV Fresno, channel 43.6 and Xfinity 187.
We couldn't wrap up this week's show and segment on volleyball without taking a stop at Central Valley Christian, where we're here now on location. Head coach Megan Workington, co-coach Lexi Allison. You guys are having an awesome year. How well is the team coming together and gelling this year?
Yeah, we're super excited about that. We lost 5 seniors that contributed in a big way last year, and so we weren't sure what to expect, but I think the girls have stepped right up in that, and I think especially in the last week or two, we've just seen the girls come together, start to believe in themselves as a team, which is really exciting as a coach.
How good can this team be this year?
They can be as good as they want to be, I think, and I don't think that last year means anything because I wasn't here. I mean, it does, but I think that, we build and we just be an even better team this year.
Now, talk about a little bit about the girls who you have this year that are helping you produce.
We have 4 great seniors, so 2 of them have Division I scholarships and all 4 great leaders, so I think that they have done a great job getting this team rolling. And then newcomers that have just stepped right in, and I don't think they've tried to fill the shoes so much of those who came before them, but they're just making their own mark on the team.
Now, CVC has been so dominant for years now. What is it about this school, this area, that just keeps producing so much talent on the volleyball court?
Jason Phillips interviewing a volleyball coach and a player, and so we knew who the coach was, the player, and the school is what again?
That was Central Valley Christian.
Central Valley Christian, yeah. Okay, good volleyball team?
Oh yeah, the program out there is crazy. In fact, Central Valley Christian, their whole athletic program is awesome. You walk into the gym and the banners are just loaded with Valley championships, and yeah. Girls volleyball is one that then they've sent a number of kids to Division I on scholarship.
Hey, I want to show a clip from the basketball team at Edison High School. So you were telling me in the break what kind of a powerhouse team they have. Let's roll that videotape and we'll talk over it. Here's a very impressive clip from the Edison Tigers. Look at that.
That's a pretty cool video.
Yeah, it really is. We found this on the internet. So they've done what the last 2 or 3 years?
Now, Edison, really good time to be a Tiger student and alumni, because they've won. You go back 2 years ago, they beat Bullard in basketball, and then they won track and field championships, and then they won football, and then they beat Bullard again, just a couple months ago, and they were trying for a baseball championship. But they lost to Sunnyside last week, so they were going for the Tiger Slam, but still impressive nonetheless. I mean, a good sports program out there.
So in basketball, they've won back-to-back Valley titles, huh?
Absolutely, yeah. Justin Wilson, or Jamont Wilson, who's still looking to go to college right now. He's fielding offers, but he was the tall defensive center that helped him win. So it was good to see him finally validate his struggles. And
how tall is he?
He's 6'9", I believe.
6'9",
yeah.
And is he a Division I player?
I feel like he can be, maybe Division II, definitely Division II or III, definitely JUCO or NAIA. But a great player, and that was just a solid team. And for them to beat Bullard back-to-back, and you look when the playoffs started, Edison nor Bullard, I believe they were the 4 and nothing higher than a 4 seed. So that was a very impressive job by T.J. Wilkins, coach of the Tigers.
Okay, so how long has he been the coach there?
Oh gosh, I want to say
a while.
Yeah, I want to say 5 or 6 years now.
Yeah, he's built a powerhouse. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
So are we a community that's crazy, just absolutely lunatic, maniac over high school sports?
We are there, and I'm glad you asked that question, because we are, as a valley, we're an agricultural valley, but we love our sports, and we do have athletes that can compete, in college, Division I, II, and III, and most people don't realize that. They think of Fresno, and they think...
But do people here crave their high school sports, whether it be basketball, football, baseball? Baseball's kind of down on the list a little bit, huh? It doesn't get the exposure that the other two get.
It doesn't, but man, I'll tell you, we have 2 of the best programs in the country, Buchanan and Clovis. And some of these other schools, Tulare Western has a great baseball program right now. Madera has a great program. So it doesn't get the recognition, but if you talk to the athletic community here, they're crazy. And I'll tell you this: go to a Clovis West, Clovis basketball game, tracks, league game, and when the gym is packed and they're going crazy and they're ripping the officials because they want that edge, you could see that the Valley, we're maniacs about sports in this area.
About high school sports?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Really? How come, and this is a question out of left field, and who knows if anybody can answer this, why doesn't Tim DeRuyter over at Fresno State go after more Valley high school athletes?
That is a great question, too, and I'm glad you asked that. And here's the thing. Pat Hill, when he was here, he wanted California kids. He wanted Valley kids that got shunned by USC, by UCLA, by Pac-12 teams. He loved to use that fire in their stomach of those kids that got shunned and to use them to play hard for him.
Yeah.
And that's why...
How dare them at USC shun you. So that was the motivation?
That was the motivation. And that's why when we went down to USC in 2005 and nearly won that game, I mean, he loved using that. So Pat Hill, and you know what? When it got time to almost the end of his tenure at Fresno State, there was a lot of people and fans that were like, why doesn't Pat Hill recruit outside of California? We could be getting Texas kids. We could be getting all these other kids that are good that other schools are getting.
Is that why they turned on him?
You know, after Dan Brown died, talking with former Fresno State players, Pat Hill became a different person. I still love Pat Hill. I defended him till his final moments, but I guess it was time to move on. But Tim DeRuyter's come in, and now he's recruiting everywhere.
Yeah, but he's not the motivator that Pat Hill was. I got to be honest with you. DeRuyter's a nice guy. He's got this high-powered offense, blah, blah, okay. Pat Hill was like, run 3 times up the middle and punt.
And that's conservative Pat Hill. And I think people got tired of the conservativeness. Tim DeRuyter's now, he's with the spread, new age offense, new age tactics. He understands where the game's going.
Is he out there recruiting the way Hill did?
No, it's different. And I don't think we've yet to see it because he's still only on his 3rd year recruiting class. But I think in the next 2 or 3 years we're going to see, and then we can judge Tim DeRuyter on his recruiting
don't
class.
ask DeRuyter about that $7.1 million contract. He doesn't want to talk about that. You remember that?
Absolutely.
That was in the media. Don't ask me about the contract. Okay, no problem.
Well, hey, he brought us a Mountain West championship, so if he can bring us a couple more of those, I think it'll be worth it.
Who's the better coach? I'll put you on the spot. You know both of them, I'm sure.
Man, good aspects by both. Tim DeRuyter's a defensive guy, secondary coach back at Air Force, and then defense with Texas A&M before he was the head coach. Pat Hill's, he's a trench guy, and that's why with him we had mauling offensive lines, sent numerous guys to the NFL, Logan Mankins, and that's where I think to be a great football team, you've got to have great trench play.
I think Pat Hill was the kind of guy that would look to point to a certain topic for the week and use that as a motivational tool to get his players fired up. And every week it was something different.
Right.
It would use. He wanted to build up this anger inside of his players, and it was just like festering and festering. All of a sudden, come Saturday, it was a fire building in here that had to get out.
Right.
I'm not sure DeRuyter does that.
Yeah. Well, this is one thing that I think DeRuyter's bringing to the program, along with Jim Barco. Now, Jim Barco's a new AD from Oregon. Great. He's friends with Phil Knight. They're all that Nike money.
Yeah,
and he comes to be our AD, and 2 weeks later we have an anonymous $500,000 donation.
Yeah.
Keep those coming in.
Yeah, what a coincidence.
Right.
Huh?
But what DeRuyter's done is, have you noticed the new uniforms?
Yeah.
And, the chrome helmets? That's what players love. That's why Oregon's one of the best recruiting teams in the country, is because awesome facilities, uniforms that kids could look fresh and fly in, and that matters to them. Pat Hill always had these dull, same old uniforms in and out.
I know, but he needs to hire Pat Hill to come in and say once a week, to grab the quarterback and say, hey, our opponent, USC next, did you hear what they said about you? Did you see that? Pat Hill will get him fired. Just use Pat Hill and get him fired up.
Yeah, well, I would love Pat Hill to come back. I love Pat Hill, man.
I wish he would be a
fan.
Consultant for that team.
Yeah, well, he's actually coming to do broadcast now for Fresno State football.
Yeah. I know.
Yeah.
We'll see if we can get
him
on the program
he's staying with the program, and that's awesome.
Yeah.
Should. Get him on.
Right. Jason Phillips, we're out of time. Come back again. Love to have you back.
Thanks for having me.
Good luck on getting that PBS contract. Look forward to seeing your show on PBS this coming fall,
Thank
sir.
You. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Jason Phillips, the Central Valley Sports Report host. Hopefully we'll see them on PBS this coming fall. All right. Tomorrow, Gabriel Dillard is on the program from the Business Journal. See you back then, and have a great day. Rest of your day, everybody.